it's constant where we kind of lean on each other. If I'm having like an issue with a client or vice versa, I think we just call each other, or even like with, resource help or design help, we just find that I need a friend in the industry. Like maybe I'm looking at things in the wrong way, or, I could use another perspective to deal with something that I'm dealing with.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of Bespoke. Today, we're going to be discussing something very important to us, and that's relationships within the industry. And we're joined today by a very special guest, Joe Fava. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Joe Fava. I'm the owner of Fava Design Group in Miami. And
Okay.
I'm happy to be here talking to my friend.
We're so excited to have you here. Hi, I'm Sarah, owner and lead designer of Sarah Z Designs, and welcome to Bespoke.
And we're just so happy to have you here for this talk. This is going to be a great one. You guys have been friends for a while. How did you meet, and how long have you been friends?
Should you go or should
Mm,
I?
Well, it's been
We'll
a
send it
while,
through.
so I'm not exactly
So
sure,
I
but
know exactly when
okay.
we
All
met.
right,
Okay.
let's hear it.
A few years back, we did a panel together at Minotti, and I remember admiring your Gucci blazer. And I was with my friend Dahlia, and she's like, "Who's that good-looking guy?" I said, "I think he's another designer." And then you happened to be on the panel with me, and then we just hit it off. And then I think we started seeing each other at events, and like becoming friendly and getting to know one another. And then the big like opening to our friendship happened in Paris when I just bumped into you at the American party, right?
Yeah.
And then we hung out the entire trip.
And
We
did
had
you
a
guys
great
kind of
time.
know, like, immediately that this would be like a close, great friendship, like off first impressions of each other?
Well, first of all, I was actually going to wear that jacket today because she is right. That is how we met. Um, I think that I'm not sure that we knew the first time we met, but we sort of hit it off. And with the in Paris, we were with each other, I think, most of the trip.
Right.
So, when you travel with somebody, you get to know them. We were
Right.
And we had
shopping
another person
together.
with us. So like it's funny because you see how relationships evolve, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, for sure. And
And
I think that I think sometimes it's hard as you get older to develop new friendships. So if you can benefit from a friendship and be in the industry, I think it's great
it's
because
it's a
when
plus.
it's a plus because there's so many things, I guess with all professions, but when you're with people that share your profession, you get together, you talk about the trials and tribulations of the job,
Yes.
the clients, the industry, and you realize that everybody has the same issues, and so it's nice to talk to somebody, in the industry, but it's a benefit if you're
And
friends with
also
them.
when you're out of your element, which kind of developed our friendship to a closer friendship in Paris, where we just like, we went to the shows, we went to the showrooms, but we like hung out, we went to restaurants, we did like some touring, and like we really got to know one another on a personal level. And you're like, okay, this is someone that I could trust, someone that I could,
You can lean
he's
on.
also in my industry, and like we can lean back and forth, like Joe said, and it connected like a certain bond with
Right.
us,
And you mentioned that you guys met at the American party over in
right?
Paris. We just previously had an episode on trade shows and how those are super important kind of for developing those friendships within the industry and just creating those connections. So I think that's so cool how you met like kind of one of
Yeah, it
your
was a lot of
your
fun, and we
besties.
hit up some of the best restaurants in Paris
Love
Yeah,
and
that.
yeah.
discovered some new drinks.
New drinks, shopping. Oh,
Shopping, yes, sightseeing.
besides seeing. Well, the other thing is that you have the commonality of the design, so that
Yes.
helps. And you can tell a lot about someone when you travel with them because traveling is not easy.
It's not.
So you have to have the right energy, and it helps if you want to do the same things,
Right.
if you have that similarity.
Right. And that chemistry, you know what I mean? Because you can't travel with just anyone. You
Right.
really
And
can't.
also, like, you also see when a person's happy for you. Like, when we were, well, I didn't know, but Joe introduced me to Paul Surpet. It was my first time visiting. It's an antique market in Paris, and it's amazing. And they have this little tiny jewelry store inside. And we walked in and we were like discovering, and she had this amazing like ring. It was like from a town collection from 1940s, right?
Mhm.
And I fell in love with the ring. And Joe was like, you should buy it. You should love it. If you love it, you should buy it. And like, he inspired me to buy it. And I was like really excited because, it showed like that he was happy for me and he wanted me to do something nice for myself where like you don't always see that, right? If you're not surrounded by like
By
the
supportive people.
supportive or like the true friends. And I was like, okay, this could really be a long life friend of mine because like I just like the energies were good. Like, and I feel like that's kind of where our friendship took off, like just like supporting each other,
Right.
over time,
And
right?
speaking
I
of,
agree.
yeah, and
Yeah.
speaking of that support of each other, I feel like there's so much value in having a friend in this industry where you understand the specific pressures that are being applied to you and like
The
the
day-to-day
specific
pressures,
day-to-day
the
pressures,
minute-to-minute
the
pressures.
minute the second to second pressures.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
But yeah, do you guys have any memorable moments when like an industry friend, not even just each other, kind of pulled you out of a tough situation or a tough spot where you're like, oh no, like what am I gonna do?
I think it's constant where we kind of lean on each other. If I'm having like an issue with a client or vice versa, I think we just call each other, or even like with, resource help or
Yeah.
design help. We just find that I need a friend in the industry. Like maybe I'm looking at things in the wrong way, or, I could use another perspective to deal with something that I'm dealing with. But even with design, like, right? Like Joe was hired to do, I have to say this,
What?
to design a kosher
Oh.
kitchen. And we specialize in designing
Yes.
kosher kitchens because that's kind of how I live my life. And so he said, can you kind of give me a run through of like kosher appliances, kosher kitchens? And like, I remember I gave him a run through of everything kosher. You need the separate sinks, you need like the Star K appliances. And like, we worked on the design together. And it's great because I love the fact that like he feels so comfortable to pick up the phone and call me. Or I needed like a metal resource guy, and I just called him and I said, hey, I'm stuck. I really need this. This client's up
Right.
but
Right. Well, right now we're using a drapery workroom that she suggested. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, listen, I always say this to people. We're not in like Iowa. I mean, in Florida, it's one of the top design communities in the country, probably in the world. So, there's plenty of work, there's plenty of projects to go around. So, people don't need to be overly competitive.
Right, and like neck and neck.
Yeah,
right.
because
It's
it's not that
unnecessary.
way. I mean, at the end of the day, people are going to hire you for whatever reason. It doesn't necessarily mean you're the most talented. It could be that they like your work, but it also could be that you share the same perspective, you have the same energy, because you're going to be working with these people for sometimes 2 years.
Hmm.
Right.
So you better pick someone that you can work with. Anything can evolve in terms of design aesthetic. That can change, that's fluid. But for the personal part of it, you have to make sure that the people that you're working with, you can get
That
along
you guys are
because
compatible
Right.
in
you're
that
So
compatible.
respect.
It's the
it's
same,
about energy,
right?
exactly. Like I might connect to a person where they might not connect to you. So
Right.
that's what I
And
always
vice
say.
versa, of course.
Exactly. It's like a designer is on a personal level with the client, and sometimes vice versa. If the client, it's not only on the client's part, it's also on our part. If we have that gut feeling not to take that project because that client has bad energy, and we've seen
Hmm.
it, right?
plenty of
Stay
times.
away from it. If I could give you one piece of advice, stay away from it because it's not going to end well. So it has
Of
to work
course.
both ways. And that's where sometimes everybody gets competitive, but I don't find myself that I'm a competitive person to like, I haven't been in that situation to really like
Like
go
fight over a
neck and
client.
With
Like,
another designer, you mean?
yeah, or even in like life, I don't like if it's meant, I believe that if it's meant to be mine, it's gonna be mine. So why not like be friends with the world and like have designer friends? Because if a
of
client's
course.
meant to be mine, then that project is gonna be mine. And the same with you. I don't find that I need to be competitive or fight for a project. I don't know. That's how I think.
Well, I feel like I'm more competitive, I would say, with myself than with someone else. But, years ago, I had a dinner for I think I invited like 6 or 8 designers. This is before we were friends,
You didn't
and
invite me? I'm
I,
shocked. No, I'm
yeah,
kidding.
but I'm gonna
Wow.
do it
Wow,
again.
Okay.
Joe.
Yeah, this was definitely before we were friends, and the whole purpose was to get 6 or 8 designers together, have dinner, and talk about whatever. It could be work, it could be clients, it could be business, and just to see, what transpired. So right before people started arriving, I thought to myself, "Oh my God, well, like, what did I do? Like, what happens if this is a dud? Like, no one's interacting because I had never done it before." And the opposite happened. It was surprising, but it was like people had diarrhea of the mouth. I mean, everybody was talking and sharing, and one person had an issue that someone else had, and then this guy had put it in his contract, and he emailed that paragraph to this person, and it really made me realize that when you are the owner of a business, whether it's design or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Those owners have a certain certain problems or issues that only those people in that same industry
Would have.
really
Yeah.
Can get
exactly
it, can
can, and they can
understand it.
understand it. So why not have people in the industry that you're friends with, because it's a huge benefit.
That's
Now,
so true, by the way, because like 5 or 6 years ago, I was invited to go on um, a trip with architects and designers from South Florida, and the trip was to Puglia, Italy. And the first couple of days, everybody was so standoffish.
yeah,
And then
Mm.
as the trip evolved, everybody became friendly. And then I remember sitting on the bus, we're driving down to Bari, and someone was dealing with a nightmarish client and they didn't know how to cope. And then he asked everyone for advice on the bus. And then it just started. Like everybody was like helping him. And then people were like, oh, do you have a better contract? Can you share this and that? By the end of the trip, we were all so friendly and everybody, we had such a great time. And it's true because sometimes, maybe the competitiveness comes in the way, but then everybody, like, we're all dealing with the same things
right.
every day,
It's true.
right? It's people think we're in such a glamorous industry. We are. It's a great industry. I'm not going to take away from it. I love this industry, but it's not glam. It's like 20% is design, 80% is putting out fires, half,
Yep.
right?
It's high pressure. It's more high
It's a
pressure than
lot of high
people would
pressure.
anticipate.
It's a lot of high
I
pressure.
have in my office I have the 10-80-10 rule. So the first 10% is when you get hired, you're doing the design, they
Hmm.
think you're a genius, and it's great. Then you have 80%, which is a complete nightmare. Like
Right.
you name it, it goes wrong. And I don't care how many years you're in this industry, something happens on every job site or every install that you'd never even think of. And then the last 10% is when it all comes together and you're like, okay, it was worth it. But really, I mean, that's not a joke. I mean, there's so many things that happen behind the scenes. And I mean, some are comical. I mean, you have to kind of shake your head
And just kind of
because
laugh it off.
you have to laugh it off, you know? And you don't want the client to see you lose your
Right.
cool
Of
because then they get, but if they look at you and they think you have it under control, then they won't get upset. But I mean, we've all had sofas that don't fit in the elevator. No matter how many times we
Yes.
measure, that's happened to everybody. It was happened to us multiple
Right.
times. I mean, and I'm like, how many times are we not
Gonna.
gonna, measure correctly? But just crazy things, that you just
It's
have to like
true.
shake your head.
And we try to protect the clients from all of it. We place the pressure on us, on ourselves. And you know what? It's sometimes it affects, like, sometimes I feel like I was praying this morning, and I pray every day. And Christina asked me, "Do you pray every day?" I said, "I do. I need to pray. I can It's the center of my day. I cannot start my day. I cannot cope with my day unless I pray, because everything goes wrong.
Yeah, and
So I
everything's
just need
pressure.
God's help in my life to kind of help me cope with everything. And, like, a lot of times I feel like my heart palpitates from everything that goes wrong. Like, oh my God, we were demolishing this apartment and we hit a sprinkler head and we flooded. Now, like, all my
Like,
guys know
now
where the
this is
shut
what
off
it.
switch is.
Yeah,
But, like,
yeah,
things like that that
yeah.
you don't even expect. And you're like, oh my God. And you're sitting with a client, your phone keeps going off the hook. And you're like, oh my God, this is one of those days. So we're all dealing with this. But
You should try a shot in your protein shake in the morning. That
what shall,
helps. A
really?
little Bacardi or something.
So the other
Yeah.
day, we were sitting with a client and her husband, and we put this beautiful design project together. It was great and everything. And then, like, we were talking about the budget. It was like back and forth a little bit. And then, like, the client's like, "Do you have anything to drink here?" Like, yes,
Yeah.
actually. So I have a
Tequila.
bar in my office, and I pour them tequila I have the highballs, right? And it was amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, I could work like this.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
that point
It was
forward,
just
it was
like
smooth
so
sailing.
calming. And I was like, okay, this is great. Once in a while, I'll have a
Like,
drink.
this might be the trick.
Might do the trick.
That might just do it. But you know how we were just talking about how the competitiveness, it's pretty much unnecessary because, there are enough clients to go around. But like, have you ever seen anyone kind of have like kind of that energy just so like straight out the bat? Just you've met someone who just kind of has this nasty kind of standoffishness about them. Like, is that something that ever really happens? Because ooh, what's the tea here?
I
Joe?
mean, this is my 27th year in the industry.
Hmm.
So, I mean, yes, you've you've seen it.
Yeah,
But I also think, you know, as you get older, you realize that there are certain people that are not meant to be in your life
of
for
course.
whatever reason. And it's interesting because a couple days ago I was reading something, I was probably on Instagram about friendship, and it compared it to a tree. So one type of friendship is the leaves. So it's there in good times, but it's not meant to be there all the time.
Hmm.
Eventually those leaves are going to fall to the ground, and that's going to be the
Right.
end of it. And then you have sort of like the limbs, and those friendships are a little bit more stable, but still, almost a little bit conditional. And then you have the roots, and the roots are the friendships that really are going to be long term. And we all have those friends that you don't necessarily see all the time, but every time you reconnect, it's like you never missed a beat.
Right,
And as I've gotten older, and I think also in the past couple of years, I've sort of started to focus on the roots more, because time is so fleeting. And you think to yourself, I mean, you want to meet new people all the time, and I think we do in this
right.
industry. But on the big picture, I feel like I'm more focused now on the root friends. And you can tell root friends when you have
Oh,
them.
for
You know what
sure.
I'm
Right.
saying? You know the leaves.
100%.
And, one thing it was saying was that there's benefits to all three, of the,
Of
you know,
course.
those types of friends. And I think there are, but I think as you get older, I even see it with my parents, you start focusing more on the root friends.
Right.
And
Those people who you know are just a consistent grounding force that you could always kind of turn back to and know that they'll be there.
And count
What
on for
and count on,
sure.
yeah, whether you're talking every day or just kind of sporadically, like those people that you just never miss a beat with. Like those are
But
the people.
even like we don't see each other all the time because we're so busy, and like he's like a really high like powered designer, and I'm very busy, trying to balance my career, my kids, my husband. But when we talk, it's like Joe said, we never miss a beat. Or when we get together, we never miss a beat because it's that kind of friendship. And like I know that I never have to hesitate to call him if I ever need anything, and I think vice versa. Hopefully you feel the same, right?
I do. And the other thing is, you don't feel if you've, I mean, because we were talking the other day, it's been a while since we've seen each other, but you don't feel like, you know, bad about it per
It's like
se,
it doesn't
Right.
feel like you're
because,
burdening the other
yeah,
Because it's
person.
you
natural.
get it,
Right,
you
we
know,
get
like
it.
you're busy, I'm busy, and, you know, but the other thing is when you think about some people in your life that have been there a long time, there's also not that pretense. I think that our industry is tricky because it's very image driven.
Right.
Right.
And that's part of the deal. I think when you sign up for this profession, people, clients look at what you wear, what you drive, what you carry, what watch you wear,
Right.
you
Right.
know? Because when you think about it, I mean, I tell my team all the time, if you can't put an outfit together, how are you going to put a room together?
Right.
Right.
So I think because of that, you know, we do have sort of a superficial side to the industry. And one thing I will say with some of my root friends, especially ones that I have from college, they really reel you in and keep you real because I feel like those types of friendships, you know, they knew you before
Right.
kind of thing.
Exactly.
And I feel like with Sarah, you know, when she's talking about the ring, first of all, I love to shop and I like jewelry. So anytime somebody's interested in buying a piece of jewelry,
You're all
don't, if
for
you're
it.
not, if you're looking to get talked out of it, don't
No.
ask me because like you know, I'm not the person for that. But I do think it's important for everybody, you know, whether it's jewelry or time away, you do have to take care of yourself with you know, whatever industry you're in,
Right.
and you have to have people in your life that support that. And I mean, I know just talking to Sarah, I mean, she's running a large design firm. I'm running one. She's got a lot more responsibilities than I do in terms of children and a spouse. I have my parents that are older that I, you
Right.
know, have you know, to make sure that they're okay. And there's a lot of responsibility for everyone.
Yes.
And so taking time to be with people that you enjoy is probably the least expensive way to have self-care.
1000%.
So, you know, when we
Right.
travel together, you know, we're looking forward to Paris again this year. You're
Yes.
going, right?
Yes. And I'm
So
taking my kids, and my husband's meeting me for um 3 or 4 days because it's our 30th anniversary.
yeah, see
Married
Congratulations.
that?
30 years.
That's amazing.
And we work together too. I
Right,
wanted to
that's
have him on
hard.
this podcast, but he refuses.
Uh,
Yeah, we're
He's
still
like,
trying to convince
"Do you
him.
want us to wash our dirty
uh,
laundry?" I
yeah, I don't
Doesn't
know.
have to
Maybe that's not
be
the best
that.
idea.
said, "It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
that."
one day we'll convince him. We'll get him.
Yeah, well, it's definitely hard working with family. I've
Yes.
I've done it. And sometimes it's been great, and sometimes it's
Right.
been a little sticky. But you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
we finally managed to learn how to kind of stay in our own lanes, but it does get hard because, we do, we're a design build firm. So like he oversees the construction, I oversee the design, but like, and we always have to connect to make sure that everything is executed in the field properly. And sometimes they're
Right.
like, no, well, coming from like my perspective, it's all about the design aesthetic and like I want to keep the ceilings as high as possible. But there's mechanical
Yeah.
Right.
and sprinklers that need to go
Yeah.
through. But like, so overall, over time, we've kind of managed we learn how to deal with each other where we're both happy and we compromise. So like the design, at the end of the day, the design has to be executed beautifully. But it was hard in the beginning, no question, you know?
Well, how do you manage like this happened recently on a project that we're doing in Boca. And I mean, it doesn't even sound like that complicated, but we have a mirrored wall with floating shelves coming out of, the
Right,
mirrored wall. But I didn't want to see any seams from the mirror. So they actually had to cut where the metal bracket was coming out
Hmm.
and basically slide the
right.
mirror on. Well, it seems a lot easier than it was because the mirror broke literally like eight
No.
times, maybe more. And so it's interesting because sometimes what you put on paper isn't the easiest
To
to
Right,
execute.
to
execute.
execute.
So,
But that's the right way to do it. I like they screw in the U channels and then they cut the mirror, install the mirror, and then they slide in the glass shelves.
well, exactly, is the right way to do it. It's
Do it.
not the easiest way
No,
to
it's
do
not
it,
the
you
easiest way.
know? So I was just
Right.
wondering because I've learned over the years, and I have a great contractor that I work with, and he always will try, whatever it is you design, and he's got a head for that.
Right.
So he never says no, but then sometimes when we're trying to execute it, we're like, oh, this
It's
this
like,
was like a
ooh.
lot more complicated than I thought. So I'm just wondering, with working with your husband, how does that?
So for me, it's easier because I come from a construction background. My dad was a builder. So I grew up with construction first, and then I became a designer when I moved here, right? But I see it, but still we butt heads because he's like, oh, I'm like, I love to maximize ceiling heights. I love to maximize. And a lot of times in the buildings, because you have the sprinklers, the mechanical, this, that, we have to lower in certain places. And I'm like, very adamant about where I'm going to lower. So it's a
Sure.
lot more work and it's a lot more thought out with the engineering and everything else. So we have like the on-sites in the field with him, the mechanical, the sprinkler company, and everything, so we could see how we maneuver in the ceilings. And it's like more expensive to do that too.
Right.
So, but it changes the whole design. And that's only one aspect of it. But
Right.
like, right, there's a lot of things that we design or like the younger designers in my office that design great looks on paper. And when they bring it to me, I'm like,
Like
that
this
cannot
cannot be
be
executed.
executed.
Right.
There's no way it can be
Right.
executed. So like I try to come more with like a solution that it could be done in the field and then we figure it out. But sometimes, you design something, it's impossible. It's like
Right.
it's in your
Right.
brain. It looks amazing, but
Right.
how are you gonna
Maybe one
execute
day
it?
you'll figure it out, but
But not today.
not today.
Has there ever been kind of a point, like in a relationship with someone that you've known in the industry, where maybe you've had a sort of fall off, but you were able to kind of rekindle or fix that? Because, like I said, this is very high pressure.
I don't know about you, but I had a couple stories. One with a vendor who was a very good friend of mine, and she didn't do the right thing by me, and it was kind of hard because our vendors are everything, and they should know that they always should protect the designer. We give them business and they should protect us no matter what. And when they don't, it reflects bad on them, it reflects bad on us. And at the end of the day, I ended up eating the mistake because the vendor would not, and it was really the rep who could have like avoided this whole situation. She didn't, and I chose to eat it and like spend thousands of dollars just to protect my client. And it should have been on the vendor. Most vendors and the reps are, a lot of them are our friends and they're good friends, over the years. A lot of them work for some companies as long as we are in the business, right? So, and we create these great friendships. And
Or
they,
also moved around. You
yeah,
know, maybe they were a rep when you met them here, but
They're
over
rep
the years,
right.
you've,
somewhere
yeah,
else.
They go to a different company or whatever, but over the years, they know the relationship. And that's why I always tell you guys, I'm all about relationships, not emails, because at least I know who I'm doing business with. They could protect us as a firm and make us look good. In this case, it didn't happen. And I would never be that kind of person to snub someone. I see them, I see her and like I'm friendly, but it's never the same
right.
because they're just like she could have done the right thing. She just chose not to.
Right. But do you have any instances where you were able to kind of like repair a relationship
So
with?
I'm a very forgiving person. I try to always like I rather have friends than enemies, right? And I always try to keep everything kind of in a friendly manner, but like
Right.
sometimes you just can't because you know the other side is phony or fake.
Right.
So like what are you repairing?
You're so right.
Well, that's the key. I mean, and I think there's a fine line between business and friendship because
Yeah.
we're talking about friendships in the industry, but like Sarah said, I mean, our first responsibility is to the client.
Of
Right.
course.
So, what I tell all my vendors, I just had this conversation this week. Anyone can take the order and it ships, no problem. You know, they make their
Right.
commission. That's great. But it's how you handle the time when there's a problem is how I judge the showrooms that I work with. And because that's something that I don't mess around with. You know,
For
if
sure.
something like that happens, like Sarah was speaking about, I mean, I'd probably handle it the same way because I feel like they're supposed to be protecting us. Because at the end of the day, and I have this conversation with showrooms a lot, we're we are the showroom's clients, not the end user. And some showrooms think that their client is our client. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
those two
Exactly.
different things because most of the clients wouldn't know one showroom from
From the
another.
other.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, some have worked with designers before, they have done multiple homes, and they're familiar with brands. But I would say the majority of our clients don't know, don't care. They want you to present what you think is the best for their project, and whether it's this brand or that brand, they're not interested.
Right.
They just are
Right.
looking for the overall look. So we are the clients of the showroom. So just like we as designers are protecting the end user, our client, they should be
Protecting
protecting
you.
us.
Right.
So I've had showrooms that I've worked with, I mean, my whole career that I still am working with. And we've also had showrooms that, you know, over the years, you know, like Sarah said, they didn't do what should have been done. And I'm not a big, I don't like the drama,
Right.
but I sort of like sail off into the sunset.
Right.
You know, I
It's
don't,
like more of like a little mental note.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll just
And
tell my office, you know, for this upcoming project, you know, we're using this firm instead of that one. So I don't have like,
Right. And there's
you know,
enough vendors to go around, but
100%.
so they should know that they should always do the right
Of
thing.
course.
it's a whole shift.
Right.
And you
And it
know,
really, yeah, it is a shift. I agree. I feel like it's, it's kind of like a domino effect. Knowing us as professionals and the way we take everything to heart and we take everything upon our shoulders to create a close to perfect project for the clients. We prevent them from knowing all the headaches. We need the support, as much support as we can get from, and there's a lot of amazing vendors, but
Oh yeah,
it's
we're so grateful for the ones that
we
we
are.
do have and we
And
work with
right.
but
because they're
the
great.
ones that are not, like there's other vendors that would be willing to take our business and would support us throughout the project. And like Joe said earlier, everything goes wrong. Everything is out of your control.
Right.
So you need that help. You need
Of
that
course.
extra support.
And people, I'm sure they'd be like, oh, it's just business. You can't let it affect your relationship. But in a business that's creative, everything feels a bit personal. You know what I mean? You put countless hours into these projects. They're like children to you, you know?
It's
So,
not only in
Yeah.
our business, it's in every business.
right.
I believe like
How you conduct yourself in business.
is who you are as a person.
Right.
So if you're going to be a thief in business, you're a thief. If you're going to
Right.
be an honest
Right.
person, you're an honest person, a business person.
Of course.
So I can't, I can't act differently as a business owner than I am because it goes against my core values.
Right.
So
Right.
I am who I am,
Mm-hmm.
across the board.
Right. And that's something we can all attest
Right.
to.
Because the other thing is, I think that everybody goes into a project, um, you know, optimistically. It's exciting to land, a new project, and a perfect stranger is believing in you to, you know, to execute their vision of design. And so not no designer goes into a relationship thinking that something bad's going to
Of
happen.
course not.
But I do believe that, um, speaking for myself, we've had some of the most amazing, interesting clients that, I mean, I never even dreamed of. But we've also had a handful, so I try not to focus on it, that have done some really like horrible
Mm-hmm.
things. And you never go into it thinking that this person is actually going to do that,
Right.
because most designers, well, most people in general don't even think
You
that
don't,
way.
right. You
Right,
don't
So, like,
approach
I
a new
would never,
situation like, oh,
right,
what's gonna
right,
go wrong? Like,
right.
that's not a way to live life.
And your contract, no matter how long it is, can't include every
everything.
single scenario,
Right,
because some scenarios you'd never even think of.
right,
Outlandish stuff,
Yeah.
right.
But, when it happens, then yes, the next time so your contract becomes longer and longer,
It's
not
ever
because of
evolving.
you, but of something that happened that you never guess
Right.
that
Right.
you had to spell that out,
Right. It's like informed by your
True.
learning
It is.
experiences.
Right,
It's all about learning experiences. And that's why I always say, like, we try to mentor younger designers that come into the industry. If they have questions or if they don't know how to write a contract, we're open to helping.
right.
I had that mentorship and I would like to bring it forward. So, because we all deal with it.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not like an isolated type
Right.
of incident here.
Right. It's not.
Right.
I mean, and I think that goes back to when we're talking about relationships in general. I think that with friendships, or with, business relationships, they have to be beneficial for both people. And, if you have a friendship that, sort of was that like leaf friendship that I spoke about. One of the things that I was reading was, that every relationship is okay. They don't all have to be roots, or the twigs or
Right.
branches.
Right.
Some are leaves,
Right.
and it's fine to have leaves.
And to enjoy them for what they are,
Right.
Right.
rather than kind of like harboring like a resentment or a heartbreak over a friendship that you wanted to be a certain way, but it just happens to
And
not
you
be.
never know the purpose that somebody walks in and out of your life. You could always learn something. You never realize what it is until later
Like not
on,
in that moment, of
but
course.
not in that moment, but it does, it happens. It's for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think that, when you start looking at relationships that way, it's easier to process ones that, maybe don't end the best way. And the other thing is, and this is with any relationship as well, I mean, two people are also growing at the
Right.
same time, but not necessarily in the same direction. So none of us are the same person we were when we met someone else. I mean,
Right.
we change,
Right.
circumstances change, or life changes us, or we grow. Maybe something that was tolerable, 5 years ago, as you grow, that's not
That's not
tolerable
something that
anymore. So
like
Anymore.
you're
aligns with you.
evolving,
Right.
Right.
right?
Right.
So, some friendships are not going to last that evolution, right?
Right.
Right.
but I think that maybe as you get older, you see the person um, more realistically, and so it's maybe easier um, in some ways to
Hmm.
pick out people because you were asking at the beginning, did we know right away? Um, I mean, I'm sure she thought I was dynamic and
Right.
handsome and
Right.
funny,
Of course.
of course. But I also, what I liked about her, and I still do, I love it, in fact, is she's always laughing. It's
Always.
almost
Yeah.
like hard to be in a bad mood. And trust me,
It's
I
cute.
have days, but it's like when I hang up with her, you know, you feel better because she's got such a great outlook on life. And it
Right.
also makes you want to be more like that than bogged down in
It's
all of the
inspirational.
it's inspiring.
Thank you. I'm
So
blushing.
I mean, that is one thing that I did notice when we first met. It was an easy friendship.
Right.
It wasn't like it's hard to describe, but when you've been traveling with somebody, everything's an issue.
Yeah.
This
Hmm.
is an issue, and the restaurant's an issue, and it's just like such a drag. Like we're in Paris. Like what can be so horrible
Right.
Right.
about being
About
in
being in
Right.
Paris?
Paris.
But
Right.
there's people that we've all traveled with that it's
Right.
like, oh my
It's like
gosh, I
pulling
can't.
teeth,
Yeah,
everything.
everything's
And yeah,
and
it's
this
like they
wasn't
choose to look at the negative and like not the positive. Like I always tell my kids this, and because I live my life that way, and I wasn't always like that, but like, I always tell them, look at the cup half full, not half empty.
right,
Always. There's always going to be something that you don't love or you don't like, but how grateful should you be for the kind of life you live? So what? So you didn't get the grade that you wanted. Okay, so you'll try harder next time. And you know what? It'll
right,
push you to work harder.
Right.
But try to always be positive because also when you're positive, and I tell you this when we talk sometimes, um, is that we attract what we are,
right,
right?
Yep.
So if we are positive and we have a great outlook on life, we attract that. And if we're negative, like I have an aunt, I feel bad. I love her. She's my aunt, but she's always negative. And I call her every once in a while out of respect, but she's always negative and she brings me down. And I'm like, I try as much as I try, and I try to tell her, be positive, and life was tough for her and life was rough for her.
Hmm.
And I don't wish what she went through on anyone, but still, like, you went through that. So, like, and I try never to judge anyone, but I
right.
just, if I can help with a little spark of positivity, that's what I tell my kids. You never know when you're going to change someone's life. So
Yeah,
always be
Right.
kind, always give a smile, always give that positive word because you never
You
know
never know
the
how deep it
impact
can.
you leave on a person.
Yeah. 100%.
And they're still young. They're trying to get it. It's harder for them, but like, I try to live my life
Hmm.
that way. Sometimes it's hard. You see what I deal with in the
Of
office,
course.
and I lose it too. I'm not an angel, right? She could tell you, but I
It's not.
try. I try to live my life with that positive outlook, as
Hmm.
hard as it is sometimes.
You just got to seek out those silver linings and
Like the
things.
other day, he had to drive to Naples. I was talking to him. I'm like, just, it's gonna be fine.
To deliver pots.
To deliver pots. You have to drive to Naples to deliver
Yes,
pots.
yes.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But you hung up feeling better?
I did. I did because you know what? Like halfway through, I'm like, I can't turn around. I
Right,
gotta
Right.
go
right.
and deliver the pots, and then I did some other things and came back
And it worked out in the
and
end.
it's fine. I mean, but again, that's something that you do for clients. I mean,
Right.
some of
Right.
it sounds ridiculous, but I mean, this is, one of my longest running clients since I've had since I don't know, maybe 2000. And so you have to do what you have to do.
Yep.
And that's one thing that I will say that I think some young designers don't get.
Right,
I don't know what they're looking at TikTok or Instagram or
right,
whatever, but that's not reality.
Hmm.
You
right.
you you figure it out as you've been in the industry. Some things you do sound ridiculous, but
You just have to
they're
do them.
not. It's not. this is fun. Our Basil's fun,
Right.
Paris is fun. There's so many fun things to do in the industry, but there's also hard work.
Right.
Of
And
course.
no one comes out of the gate like doing all of the fun things. You get
Of course.
invited to those things because of the relationship that
That
you
you
build
build.
with people over time.
Right.
And I think that a lot of younger designers, they see the glamour of it, but they don't realize the 7-day work weeks that you've done. And I mean, sometimes it's
Getting
a
down and
blur.
dirty
Yeah.
also.
Genuinely.
I mean,
You
when we set up, I'm sweeping if I have to. I clean countertop. We do whatever it
Yeah.
Right.
takes to
You
set up the
vacuum,
apartment.
you
You
Of
vacuum, you
steam,
do
you
course.
set up
everything. You
beds.
steam the bedding, you do everything. And like we do it. If we have, even if we have a team the size of the apartments, we need to get it ready for the
Right.
next day. Everybody's
It's
getting
all
down and
hands on
dirty.
deck.
It's all
Right.
hands on deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so just to wrap up, what do you guys think has been the key to having such a long lasting friendship between the two of you?
Hmm. Well, I already said mine. I love her energy, her spirit, her um, outlook on life. Because to me, my friendship with her makes me want to be better and want to be I don't want to be like the aunt that she's like, oh, I'm going to Paris with Joe and he's bringing me down. Like, I want to be like the fun uncle,
Right,
that we're
right,
here. And because, that sometimes you need a kick, you need a
Right.
reset. And so, fortunately, I've not seen that devilish side of you.
It's not
I
that bad, I
see I
swear.
see the fun side. So
I
that's what
try
I
not to
think.
show it too much, no. So I love Joe. I feel like for me it was more of like a connection from the beginning, I feel like. And maybe it was the Gucci blazer. No, I don't know. But no, I just find that he's so genuine and he's fun and great all around and very knowledgeable in this field. And also like I could count on him when I need someone in the industry. I know that whatever I say to him doesn't go anywhere. It's not like I could trust him. So to me, that's huge. And that just sets the path of everything else, the fun and Paris and everything. That's just an added benefit. But like, you do need to know that you could trust someone, that you could share your industry,
Mhm.
because at the end of the day we are two designers with two different firms. We do have clients, but if I could bring myself to trust him with business ideas or things like that, that just shows you who he is as a person. And that's what I love about him. And also of course everything else.
Of course. Like the Gucci
The
blazer.
whole
The whole
The whole
package.
package.
And it's so great that you guys have those good foundations of just like trust and you guys have those points in common and that natural like chemistry. And of course, like outside of being able to travel and do all these fun things together, you
Right.
guys can always come home to be like, that's my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't see each other that often
Right.
either. Like during like certain weeks of the year, more
Yeah.
like Paris week, our Basel events, certain events, but like we're so busy in our own lives. And like Joe, so like he has multiple businesses, right? He
Yeah.
has an accessory store. Like you said, he's busy with his parents, and that's part of your blessing too, because in
Oh, totally.
Judaism,
Yeah.
right, respect your parents is like life for longevity and success. So like I'm a firm believer in that. And I think also that just shows like that we have a lot of similar values.
Yes.
And that's also like why we're friends.
Yeah, I love that. And this has been such a fun episode. It's so great to finally meet the great Joe Fava in person. I've heard so
Thank
much
you.
about you.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having me. It's been a
of
lot of
course.
fun.
It's been such
And
a
I'll do
pleasure.
anything for her, so.
Oh,
And the same, vice versa.
amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We had a great chat. Any final words for the audience, guys?
So we're so happy that everyone joined. Joe, thank you for taking the time. I know you're so
Yes.
busy. Love having you here, and looking forward to making more memories together.
Yeah. we'll see how this episode goes.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do episode 2.
We'll do a part 2. I'm so
Definitely.
excited.
Exactly.
Yeah.
After the Paris show, we'll do a
Yes.
recap.
We'll do a Paris recap.
Yes, that's
see,
great.
ideas.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you guys. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.